Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Lisa Petrangeli, and I will be presenting to you SmartDocs 2017.1. So for those of you, I see some names today that I recognize. So some of you are really familiar with SmartDocs, and for others, this is new. So some of the things you'll see today are enhancements to our current version of SmartDocs, and for those of you who are new, everything's new. So we'll do a really nice overview and be able to really get a feel for how powerful SmartDocs is going to be for you and your team as a content management solution. Let's go ahead and get started. So SmartDocs 2017.1. A lot of people will ask, what's different about SmartDocs? What's unique about SmartDocs? SmartDocs is particularly unique because it is completely integrated with your Microsoft Word and SharePoint environments. So it transforms Word into a complete content management and reuse solution. It allows you to create documentation more quickly because you're using already approved content. You're able to generate higher quality documentation, therefore, because everyone is using approved content. And keeping documentation consistent and up to date is easy and trackable, and you're able to do it very efficiently with SmartDocs, unlike traditional ways of trying to figure out which content is in which documents need to be updated. SmartDocs will be able to communicate all that to you, and it's entirely collaborative. So because of all of that, and because SmartDocs is in Word, it's also very unique in that it allows anyone in your company, in any type of company who's working with Word content, to work with SmartDocs. So you can really take advantage of content reuse and content management in this environment. Unlike if you're familiar with XML type solutions, they simply don't have the same accessibility that SmartDocs does. And so that's something that is very unique to SmartDocs. So any type of writer, any type of content, everyone will be able to be in this environment. So today we're going to go through this basic formula for a demo. So we're going to go through some of the basics as far as what reusable content is, snippets and variables. We're going to look at some of the more automated components and content management components. So being able to build documents very quickly with features like Smart Finders, being able to track usage, and using a content map to navigate through your SmartDocs content much more easily. Then we'll talk about outputs and generating variations of documents, and that's what the sample that we'll be working with today is based on, being able to generate multiple variations from a single master document. So we'll talk about conditional text, how to use that, how to combine that with variables for document snapshots, and then be able to publish in bulk. I'll give a quick overview of what Smart Builders are, which is a document assembly feature. It allows you to automatically have SmartDocs assemble documents for you by building a component into your templates that allow your end users to answer some questions, associate a series of actions that SmartDocs will recognize, and build the document for you. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of a brief overview of that. If that's something that particularly interests you, I encourage you to check out some videos on our website too that talk about Smart Builders specifically. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to slide a Word document over into this screen here. And let's take a look at what we have here. So right now, when you install SmartDocs on your computer, you'll see that you have a tab at the top and its own ribbon with all its controls. Right now, I'm currently working in Word 2013. SmartDocs is compatible with everything from Office 2010 up through 2016 and Office 365, if that's the environment you're working with. SmartDocs does require SharePoint behind the scenes to store all the content. So as we go through, I'll indicate SmartDocs repository in a lot of cases, and that's what lives on a SharePoint site somewhere, hosted or internal, that you might have. But what you won't see is me as the end user of SmartDocs today go into SharePoint for any reason. So for your user group and your team of writers, they don't know or care that SharePoint's doing anything back there, but SmartDocs cares. So I'll give you some information along the way. If you have further questions about how SharePoint and SmartDocs are integrated, please feel free to ask me offline and I'll be happy to answer. And there's, of course, information on our website as well. So a quick tour. We do have a ribbon here with all of our different groups. I'm going to open up a task pane, which is a very commonly used feature in SmartDocs for writers. If you like to have some of the things kind of accessible to you in a different way, you'll see a lot of property information here, lists of information, things that you might be searching for will all be in this task pane and available for you. The three major components of SmartDocs are reusable variables, reusable snippets, and conditional tags. Variables being very simple placeholder style text. You can see some here in our document on our cover page and scattered throughout, some in the header here. So there are some variables that will represent information that will vary depending on the document that you are currently creating. As I mentioned a moment ago, this particular sample document is for our fictitious company named Intech Corporation. Intech makes a variety of products and product models. So when we want to be able to use this document, use our content, but it might be in a variety of contexts, we need some things that allow us to make that even easier. And that's where variables will come in. But out of this one master, we will be able to generate multiple variations for different product models and also include different units of measure, either imperial or metric, depending on which version we need to generate. So you'll see a combination of variables and conditional text that will allow us to do that. So variables, again, placeholders for some information that will vary depending on where they're being used. And then also variables will help you lock down information that you want to make sure is being used consistently no matter who in the company is using it, especially things such as your own company's information, address, phone numbers, etc. Anyone using those variables will have the correct information they'll be using. You can see that these are check marks mean that they are synchronized with your storage, your collection area, with your repository, with your centralized location for maintaining all of your information. Those are all one and the same. So right now, I have all the current variable information. If for some reason my content manager had gone in and updated one of our company's phone number, for example, I would actually have a different status icon and it would alert me to pull in new information. So it's always communicating things to you. We're going to focus on snippets first, and I'm going to scroll down for a moment. So imagine that our scenario here is that we've been working on this document. You can see we've put some content in here. We've been building it over time. And now we're going to continue on and go into a section that requires some content to be added. So I've come down to this section. We have some headings here, and what we're going to do is work with snippets quite a bit. I'll show you some different search capabilities, browsing, and then move into some more advanced things, and then we'll create some snippet content and talk about things from a content management perspective as well. So let's get started with this. So we have this initial setup heading. And over here in our task pane, we have a search field. So there are many ways to find and insert your snippet content. Snippets, by definition, are reusable chunks of content that can be used by anyone who has access to them and has a SmartDocs license. They can be text, images, graphics, tables, combinations of those. Really, whatever you can select in Word can be a snippet or part of a snippet. So let's go ahead and do a simple search. So this is a simple keyword search, the easiest way to just manually find what you're looking for. So I'm going to type in the word procedure into our search pane. And you can see now we have a set of search results. Let's take a look at these. You'll notice that they're categorized by two different headings here. These represent different repositories that I am connected to. You can think of those as libraries of content. So I have a patient care repository and I have technical publications. I actually have two others that didn't yield any search results in this particular case. We also can see that all these little word icons, SmartDocs does not do anything proprietary to your content. So it's still Word content, it remains Word content, and you can use it that way. That's really important for a lot of companies because they want to make sure that there's nothing proprietary done to their content that, say, 5-10 years down the line, they want to migrate to something else, and they have a very difficult time doing so because they have to get it out of some unknown format. In SmartDocs, that is not an issue. If you have images that are snippets, they will be stored as snippets in their native format, if they're JPEGs or Visio diagrams or whatever they might be. So nothing proprietary happens to your content. The other thing you might notice is that they are currently being displayed in alphabetical order here based on their repository, but you also have these numbers here. This is a new feature in this version of SmartDocs. These numbers represent number of times inserted. So if I wanted to, I could sort by the most inserted snippets. So if I resort those, I can see which snippets are inserted the most. In a little bit, we'll talk about usage tracking. That's different than this number. This number is a very raw tally of how many times a snippet has been inserted into a document by someone on your team who has access to the same repository. So it's kind of a nice way to be able to see which are the most commonly used, to make sure that if you're trying to make a selection based on what you know people are using consistently, this can really help with that. Another thing that you can do, and again, this is new to this version of SmartDocs, is that you can narrow your search results based on different time requirements. So if you want to be able to see new snippets that have just been created, or if maybe you want to see snippets that haven't been modified for a long time because it's your job to review any content that may need to be updated in some way. So you have a lot of options now. And these are things that have been requested by customers, so we added these features into this particular release. Lastly, the thing you might also notice is that the word procedure that I search by does not appear in every one of these snippets names. What we did here is we conducted what we call a metadata search. A metadata search is going to search against all of the categorical information that has been assigned to your snippets. And this is completely customized by you and your company. We help you through it. Our training environment will help you with that. Puzzle through what your metadata should be. But what you'll see here is that the word procedure in some way is associated with all these snippets. Metadata allows you to find your content, organize it, structure it, do some automation in different ways with it. So it's a really important component, but it's very specific to your own content. It's easier than it sounds. Okay, so we saw all sorts of things here, and let's go ahead and now figure out what snippet we want to insert and do that. So this is probably the snippet we want, this initial setup snippet, and I can simply select it from my list here, and I can drag it right into my document. So SmartDocs is going to insert a copy of this snippet for us, and now we'll see that it has some visual characteristics. My cursor is inside of it, which is allowing my task pane is now displaying some property information here. You can see that the snippet itself has a blue outline around it, a tab at the top, and that just appears when my cursor is inside. If I move out, it just looks like regular content. So also new to SmartDocs is you have some more information here about your snippet that's available. So those of you who are familiar and want to, you've tried to access SmartDocs ID and things like that, you can see that a little bit more now. You, of course, always have properties, access to the properties for any specific snippet, and all sorts of actions that are available to you depending on the status of that snippet. We can see that this is the latest version, of course, which SmartDocs always inserts the latest version of a snippet, and the version number and other information about it. If I wanted to save my screen real estate, I can always minimize that screen as well. Okay, so here we have our snippet. Let's go ahead and try to find this operational verification snippet, but instead of, let's imagine that we didn't find exactly what we're looking for. So we wanted to switch out of metadata search to full text search mode. What this will do is allow you to get a set of search results that are focused on the word procedure and its relevance to the body content of your snippet. So SmartDocs is actually looking through the body content and figuring out by relevance, and you can see this is sorted by relevance, how relevant the word procedure is within the body of each of these snippets. And you can still sort by the other things as well, but in this particular search mode, relevance will be the default. So now we can look here, we can say, okay, this might be the one that I want, let's say. And if you wanted to, let me just advance up here a little bit, you could view it first. So if I wanted to take a peek and see what the snippet looks like, I can do that. So we say, yep, that's the one we want. So my cursor is already in place, so I can just go up here and click on insert. SmartDocs will insert that snippet for us. Now you've noticed, of course, that these snippets have variables in them, and this is allowing us to be able to, at some point, tell SmartDocs, okay, here are the variable values for this particular document output. So you can see by storing snippets with these types of variables in there, it makes it reusable wherever it is relevant. So let's go ahead and update a couple of these so you can see how they behave. I'm going to simply put my cursor in this one and type in, our Sleep Assist is the name of this product. And as soon as I do that, it updates the variable everywhere that it appears in the document, as you can see here, and even in headers and footers. For this product model snippet, this one is actually set up differently. I'm going to go up into our variable actions here, and I'm going to open up this edit values. SmartDocs will present me with only the variables that I'm allowed to edit in the context of a document. So I can't edit those lockdown variables that are all of our company information, but I can edit these. So I'll go ahead and pick a product model. And this happens to be our user guide document type, and I'll save that. So that's all updated. I can close this window, and you'll see that those now have been updated. User guide, there's the product model. If I switch over quickly to our variables, you can see it's also populating these variable values. So I know in my document currently, this is what is currently assigned, and you can see how easy it is to change them. Okay. Another thing we can do here is, I'm going back to my snippets. Another option you have is to create your own list of favorites. So I can go to my favorites list, and this, unlike everything else, this is specific to each user. So I create my own list of favorites, and that's just my own list, and everyone on your team can create their own list. So unlike doing search results, which is searching through your central repository, this is just allowing me to have access to the things I use the most or that I want to isolate for this reason. Moving into the browse, we can see here, these are the 4 repositories I'm connected to, as I had mentioned. If we open up our patient care repository, we can now see this is a list of metadata items that in this case are serving as folders to provide a structure for the organization of our snippet content in our snippet libraries, again, residing in SharePoint. So if I go into here and expand on this procedure folder, what you'll see here is, I'll let this open here for us. There we go. That we have this same list of snippets that we were seeing in our search results before, coming out of this particular repository. So we want this pressure adjustment snippet, so I'll go ahead and select that and just drag it in. So you can see you can work with searching, browsing, whatever you like. If you prefer to be able to see your content, you know how it's organized, where it is, and you like to work out of folders, then that's a great option for you. Now I'm going to switch over to a different document that looks identical to the one we've been working with, except what I want to show you, this is very new. And a new idea. We've had a lot of people that have said, we have really large Word documents and they can become, difficult to navigate because we use a lot of images and things like that. Another thing that they may say is that we want to be able to send documents to review, but not have all of the content available for SMEs to edit, for example. So what they wanted was to be able to insert snippets as links to later be embedded, either upon publishing or just at a later time, whenever you want to. So now you can insert snippets as links. So you saw how we inserted the snippet content. So I have the same search pulled up in this particular document. So now I could take this snippet, and instead of inserting it as a snippet, I can, with all of its content, I can insert it as a linked snippet. So if I go in here and insert link, you'll see how it looks differently than when we first inserted the snippet into our other version of the document. It's all the same property information. It is still the same snippet. It's still a snippet. And now we can see that we have the link is in here instead of all of the content. So I can do this from both the search window. I can do it from the browse as well. Here's the operational verification snippet. So let's insert that one as a link also. I think I have my cursor in there. Yep. Okay. Now, another thing that you can do, so now we see that. Another thing you can do, and you can do this with when you're inserting the content as well, is you can insert a previous version of a snippet, or you can lock which version of the snippet you want to insert rather than the latest version. So let me explain that. Here we have, I inserted it just like I would any other snippet. And what SmartDocs will do is, at the point at which we decide to embed these snippets, pull in the actual content. It could be that maybe I'm working on this document for weeks, and in that time, some of these snippets get updated and new versions get created. So SmartDocs will ensure, based on this link, which reads latest version, it will ensure that the current version, the latest version of the snippet gets inserted no matter what. But let's say I want the current version, and if someone were to update it between now and a month from now when I publish this document, I don't want it to change. I don't want the updated version. I want this specific version. So I can do that from here. So if I select this snippet here from our task pane, and I'm going to open up the properties for this snippet instead of linking it yet. In your snippet properties, you have all sorts of information, starting with metadata, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment when we create a new snippet. But basically, SmartDocs assigns all sorts of data to your snippets when you create them. All of this is searchable. You can use it for a variety of things, including document automation. And you'll have, of course, your custom metadata. In this case, we just have a couple of fields that help us identify our content. But what we want to look at right now is version history. So we're going to look at the version history. So instead of just inserting and making it the latest version, we're going to insert this version. Okay, so this is the current version, and I'm going to say insert linked this way. Now you'll see it will read differently. Our link will be linked to version 3.0, as you can see here. So now, no matter when this snippet gets embedded into my document, it will be version 3.0, even if there happens to be a 4.0 or some other version. So that's the difference of being able to keep that. Now, if we take a look, if I just putting my cursor in here, we can see this information here. You can embed an individual snippet this way. So I could go ahead and say, okay, yeah, go ahead and embed that one actually. I want that content in here. I can click on embed, and SmartDocs will now pull that snippet in here. Okay. The other thing we can do is to do that all at once, and I'll show you that in a moment as well. Okay, let's first create a new snippet, because I want to talk a little bit more about metadata before we start managing our snippets more from that content management perspective. So here's some content that's not a snippet, it's just content in our document with a little graphic associated with it as well. So let's go ahead and create a new snippet out of this. So I'm going to select what I want to create a snippet out of and go up and select new snippet. Now, for those of you who are new to SmartDocs, this is not going to seem unusual to you, but to those of you who are familiar with SmartDocs, you will see that right now I have some choices. Because I have content selected, SmartDocs is detecting I'm going to create a new snippet from that selection. But you'll see here that I also have the option to create a new snippet without content selected. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So first, let's go ahead and create our new snippet here from what we have selected out of our document, content that is already authored. The first thing we do is select which repository we want to store it in. It's detecting that we're going to use patient care. That's what we've been pulling things out of. So down here in this part of the window is our snippet metadata. Each snippet has metadata associated with it, including a name and any custom metadata you need. All of these are just simply labels. They can be labeled whatever you want. They might be category, subject matter. You could have category, subcategory, and have dependencies between them. You can have pick lists, yes, no buttons. There are many, many options around what your content metadata can be. As I switch from repository to repository, you'll see that those change. In this case, this is a dependency. I can click organization and get a different set of options than if I click on something else. Okay, so you have a lot of flexibility. It's completely customized to your requirements and what you want. So let's go ahead back to our patient care. We're going to give our snippet a name. We'll call that treatment. We will choose procedure as our content type. And then we have a language code, because if we have translation and we want to identify and maintain some sort of link between our different translated versions, we can do that. But right now I'll just leave it as English, and I don't need any other keywords. So I'll say create. So right now SmartDocs is extracting a copy of this content, storing it as its own little individual Word document, and you can see immediately it's right here. It's already shown up in our list, okay, before I even close out. So again, this is a really unique quality of SmartDocs. You, as you're implementing SmartDocs and you're creating new content, or you are working on a current project and maybe finalizing content or editing it or whatever you're doing, you create snippets along the way, and they're immediately available to anyone who has access to the repository and who might need to use it. So you will not find that in XML-based solutions. You will not find that in anything else that allows you to immediately have it in the format that you want it. It's obviously styled content in here, and it's right there. So if I was in another document and conducted a search, I would find it right away, and I could use it if I wanted to. So as soon as that's approved by me, and I've created it and updated it and uploaded it, to the repository, it's available. So that's very unique. Now, before we create the next type of snippet, I'm first going to show you one more way to find snippets, and then we're going to create another one for this section. So here we have what we call a Smart Finder. A Smart Finder is a direct link to a pre-filtered list of snippets. So whoever created this document for me, this template, these are perfect for use in templates. If I come across a section and I see this Smart Finder, I double click on it, and SmartDocs will present me with a list of snippets that someone has predetermined are relevant for this particular section. So here we have a set of snippets. I didn't have to do any searching. I didn't have to browse. I didn't have to do anything. I just click on this, and SmartDocs says, here are the things you should choose from. Now, this Smart Finder tab and this content is all editable. So I could have written a double click here and insert 3 accessories or whatever. I could have named it accessories or anything I want. So this is all configurable and editable. In this choice fields here, I can pick whichever snippets I want. I can choose them all, of course. And SmartDocs will insert them in the order that I select them. So let's say I want to select them in this order to be inserted in this order. I'll select these 3. And I click Insert. SmartDocs is going to insert all of those snippets for us, and we'll have completed this entire section. So you can see how easy it is to be able to lead writers to existing content, allow them to easily find what they're looking for and what's relevant. So here are our snippets, all inserted and formatted and looking exactly the way we want to. In this case, whoever inserted the Smart Finder allowed us to re-execute it if we needed to. So you can have that. That's just an option. You can have it be deleted, or you can have it remain. Once the document is published, it would be removed and formatting restored like it was never there. Okay, so now let's say we want to create a new accessory snippet, but I'm not going to author it, but I do want to, as the content manager, control the naming and the metadata that is selected for it, but I'm going to assign it to someone else to actually put the copy into. But I don't want them to have to mess around with formatting. I don't want them to start with an existing snippet and start editing it. It's too sloppy. So what I now can do in this current version of this new version of SmartDocs is I can create a new snippet without any content selected, and I can do that by creating it from a predefined snippet template, which you will create. So if we take a look, we can again start with choosing the repository. And I'm going to choose accessory snippet as my template. So that's something I pre-created. Now I can give it a name. Let's say we're going to create a battery charger. And I will choose content type, accessory, because that's my this is all the metadata. I want to control the metadata, and say create. So imagine that you can create as many snippets as you want, and then you can assign them to other people to add to, or you can go ahead and just you want to have it so that you have a format first. You have all of the formatted, the layout, and then you're just populating it with content. So even if I'm doing it myself, that I can start here and then write the content. I don't have to have finalized that. So let's insert it so you can see it. So let's say we're going to insert it into the document now to edit it. Let me show you what's going on here. Okay, so now here's our new snippet. It's a snippet. It's officially a snippet. However, I'm going to open up our accessory folder here. Here's our new snippet. Okay. Now you might be wondering, okay, but I don't want people using this because obviously there's no content in it yet. It is currently checked out. So until it gets checked back in, saved to the repository, it's not available for anyone else to use who doesn't have permission to do so. I created it, so I immediately have permission to do so. So you can have it that if you're assigning it to certain people to now put content in there, then they would be able to, you have that set up as an accessibility permission. So right now, I'm going to be able to edit this copy and work with it. So it just makes it so that you don't have to have already authored your content. You can create all of the snippets that you might need, edit that content later, and it allows you to not have to worry about applying styles to content and things like that because they're already part of this. And these are just content controls allowing some sort of annotation to tell people what content needs to go there. And they just simply type over it, and then when they're ready, they can save it to the repository. So it's a new feature, and it's really exciting because people wanted to be able to control styles and make it a little bit easier when you're starting a new chunk of content, a new snippet, to be able to do that. So hopefully that is something that you're interested in for your own team. Okay, let's take a look at some things on the content management side a little bit. So we're going to take a look at kind of the overall view of our document and see some things that are going on. First, I'm going to close the task pane for a moment. And I'm going to open up our content map. The content map, much like Word's navigation pane, allows you to see your document sectioned off, by your headings and your how your sections are organized. But furthermore, you now can see all of the things in your document. Okay, so the SmartDocs elements. So you can expand to everything, or you can focus on specific features that you want to highlight. So we'll just do expand all. We can see all sorts of conditional tags. We can see snippets. I'm actually going to reduce the size of that one so we can see more of our snippets here. So we can see our snippets. You can even see, this is a Smart Finder, so you can see that. That's still in the document. So it's really nice if you're trying to figure out if maybe assigning specific sections to people to work on, or if you just want to see, okay, which sections have I not worked on yet because there are no snippets in there yet. So it allows you a nice bird's eye view of your document. What you also might notice is that we have some check marks and X's here. That's indicating status of those particular snippets. So now we can see, oh, okay, we have these two that are out of date. That's basically what that means. So if I were to select that, it will navigate me to there. I can now open up the properties information for that, figure out what's going on, see what the story is about those particular snippets. Another thing that you may have noticed is that up in our ribbon, we have a status icon. This is an overall document status icon. If even one thing, even one variable or anything is out of date, this will be this red X indicator. So if I click on that, SmartDocs will give us the overview. In this particular case, kind of what we already knew, we have snippets in our document that are not up to date. So we have some out-of-date snippets here. So from here, we could open up our Manage Reusable Snippets window. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's see what's going on overall. This is kind of a nice way to begin if you're working with a document and you've been working on it for a while and you want to kind of see, okay, what's happened to my snippets since I was last here. This is the best way for you to get an overview of that. What we can see, let me just slide this over. We can see similarly to what we're seeing in the content map, we have these two snippets that are out of date. What we can also see here, though, is that we have these two snippets that are still embedded as still inserted as links, and here it's showing us that we can embed them if these still need to be embedded in our document. So taking a look first at these updated snippets for update, we can see this, we have version 1.0 and there's a 3 available here. We have 1.0 and there's a 2 available. We have an overview here, how many snippets are in the document, how many are linked. One is not saved. That's what this indicator means. That means I've made changes to this snippet in this document, but I've not saved them back to repository yet. I have the current version inserted, but now I've made additional changes just in my document. I also can see that 2 snippets are not in the latest version, which we know. So we have some choices. We could select one of these snippets, which will present us with a variety of options. And I could update just that one snippet. I could select this, look at the properties. I can do all sorts of different things if I want to. Compare it to the current version, anything I need to do. I also have bulk actions available to me at all times. So if I wanted to, regardless of that being selected, I could say, you know what, I need to update all of the snippets in my document right now anyway. It doesn't matter to me what the changes are, I need the new version. So I can select update. SmartDocs is now going to scan the document and tell us how many need to be updated, which we know is already 2, which we see down here. So we can say, yep, go ahead and update. So SmartDocs now is going to replace the previous version that we had in the document with the updated version. And you're going to see a few things happen here. You're going to see the status icons change in this window. So we'll now have our green check marks instead of a red X's. So we have that. And now we can also see that over in our content map, so we can say, yep, it's updated. Perfect. There's all of our check marks. We can see here that we can refresh, but we can see that these 2 snippets just had some action associated with them. Okay, so we can refresh this if we want. And if I were to close this, we can see that is no longer a red X. And once I close that, the status icon is completely up to date. And again, I can refresh this and make sure that we have everything we're viewing and looking at is completely refreshed and current. So it's that easy to pull in the correct snippets that you want. Make sure everything is updated. SmartDocs will never do that for you without you knowing it. So it is up to you, the document owner, to decide, yes, I want these changes, or no, I don't want these changes. SmartDocs will always tell you what's going on. It will never do anything without you knowing that it happened, or without asking you to approve that it happens, basically. Okay, so let's take a look now at a couple of other things and properties you can find out about your snippets. I'm actually going to navigate back to our accessories section. And let's look at we want to go back to our air filter section here. I'm sorry, our air filter snippet. So we have this air filter snippet, and I want to take a look at the properties of this snippet. So I'm going to go ahead and close the content map now, and I'm going to reopen our task pane. And I want to show you some other property information that is available and how to work with it. So I'm going to open up the snippet properties. So again, we have metadata, which we looked at. Now we have a little more familiarity with that. We looked at version history already, so we know that this particular snippet has 3 versions, and this is the version that's currently in our document. And we also now have usage tracking. Usage tracking may be turned on or off at any point in a document's lifecycle. And you can see this is the icon for it in our ribbon, so you can turn it on or off from here. If I turn usage tracking on in this document, what that means is it's going to track which snippets are being used in this document, which versions of those snippets are in this document, and allow me some actions. In this case, we're looking at the usage tracking of one specific snippet. So we're not on the document level, we're literally on the snippet level here. So we can see which documents this snippet is being used in, which version of the snippet is in which document. We can see whose documents they are, when they were initially created, and then we can also see where this document is stored. So if it happens to be on a network location, I could select all of those that are on a network location and update all of them at once if I wanted to push the new version of the snippet, the current version of the snippet, into those documents. If it's on my laptop or desktop, then I have to open them individually to do so, navigate to them and open them. But SmartDocs can detect any hyperlink that is available to get you there. So it's nice if you're going to if you need to update your documents with new content, it's also a good way to, if you're about to make an edit to a snippet and update that to the repository, to be able to do an impact assessment of that. And before you do that, think, okay, who owns these documents? These are all me, but maybe they're not in your team. And say, okay, if I were to update this snippet now, these people need to be notified that there's a new snippet available and they need to update their documents. Those notifications can also be set up automatically so that if snippets have been updated, people can receive notification directly out of your SmartDocs repository, alerting them that their change is made and they need to make updates. So you have a lot of collaborative opportunities here. You could generate this as a report if you wanted to, and be able to share this with someone or use it for whatever reason. Maybe it's quite long and you want to go through it in a different way. You also can generate a report of usage tracking for all of the snippets in this document, showing you where all the snippets in this document are being used and tracked. So even if one of the snippets in the document is in a document, it'll show up in your tracking list. You can also generate a report for the entire repository. So from a content management perspective, that's really excellent because it allows you to be able to see, are people using content? Where are they using it? Are they updating documents? Are we tracking documents we no longer need to be tracking, etc.? So it gives you a great deal of flexibility about how to work with your content and manage it. So those are some really nice capabilities around content management. A couple more things about snippets. You can nest snippets. You can have parent and child snippet relationships. You can do that in either way. So again, those of you who are familiar with SmartDocs and may have worked with nested snippets before, there was a specific order of events that you had to do that in. In SmartDocs 2017.1, you don't have to do that. It's very natural. You can either create the child snippets first, then create parents around it, or you can do the opposite. So it's a great deal of flexibility and how you can work with those. So it can be very powerful. Okay, we're going to move on to conditional tags now. And I'm going to slide us up to a different section. Conditional tags allow you to identify, and you can see some of these colors going past, allow you to identify content that sometimes needs to display and sometimes needs to be hidden depending on the variation of the document you're generating. As I mentioned earlier on, in this case, we are creating up to six different variations of this document to be able to have different product models and different units of measure. So our conditional tags that we have in this document right now are 3 different product models, the automatic 1000 and then 2 manual product models. And then we have imperial metric units of measure in some sections that need to be displaying or hidden depending on which one we're generating. So let's take a look at how it works. So we have this highlighted content here, which is indicating conditional content. If I put my cursor in it, just like with snippets, you get some property information and actions. We can see that is conditionalized for the automatic 1000. We also have little graphics down here that are also, these are snippets and also conditionalized. So you can conditionalize content, you can conditionalize snippets, inside of snippets, variables, anything really you can select in Word can be conditionalized. So let's go ahead and just look at how it behaves. I'm going to open up our show hide window, and I'm going to hide everything except I'm going to show just the automatic 1000 tag. So let's save that. So as soon as you do that, it updates it on screen for you. You can get a preview of what it would look like if you were going to publish this document right now. So you can see again how easy that is. I'm going to take us down to a different section where we have some of those units of measure. Right now, all of them are hidden. So let's go ahead and show those. Let's bring out we'll pull in the manual 1000 and the imperial, and we'll go ahead and hide the automatic and save. So again, you can have as many different conditional tags as you like. You can apply multiple tags to the same piece of content. This pink color is a default color that indicates just that we have more than one tag associated with that same exact piece of content. So in this case, we have both manual versions. It is using OR logic right now, so as long as one of them is set to show, the content will show. You can change that to AND logic. In this case, we have, you can include or not include trailing markers like table row endings, paragraph marks, etc. So you have a lot of flexibility about how to work with your conditional text. For those of you who are familiar with conditional text, we've added some actions, all sorts of different things to find and update existing conditional content, reapply tags. So if you've just applied a set of tags, maybe you've applied 3 tags, you can now apply them in groups. You can filter by specific things. It's really flexible and really, really great. So again, anyone who's really interested in learning more about conditional text, we'll be happy to show you those in more advanced ways if you're interested in that. Okay, so let's say we wanted to create a new tag. Much like if we were going to create a new variable, this is very similar. You can either create a tag in your document only and later upload it to the repository, or you could say, oh no, I actually want to create it in the repository now and have it in this document for use or not. So you have a lot of options here. We're just going to create a tag on the document level. Let's say we're about to start work on our automatic 2000. You can choose between highlight colors or text shading colors. This is going to just give me the next one in the list, so we'll say that's fine, and create. If I want to, I can keep creating tags. Maybe I'm just getting started. I want to create a bunch of tags so I don't have to keep closing and opening this window. Or I can say, nope, I'm all done. Okay, now we have this tag available. Right now it's on the document level. The others are in our repository. That's okay. So let's say I wanted to apply this to something. It's as simple as selecting content. I can double click it, I can select it and click apply, whatever I want. So you can see that's now conditionalized to the automatic 2000, and it's as easy as that to hide. And there you go. So now it is hidden right now from my document. So it's very easy to work with. It's very easy to make your content more flexible. You'll be managing less content with use of conditional tags. You're able to have product specifics, different services, maybe regions. We have some customers who have training guides that are for instructor and participant. So they have only one document, and they can show and hide things that are specific to the instructor, such as assessment answers and things like that, so that they don't need to show them all the time. Maybe you have different documents for different regions or different states or whatever the case may be. So you can have, rather than open many, many documents when you need to make an update, you open one, you make an update in one document in one place, and it shows up in all of your different variations. So you're managing less content, you're managing fewer documents, and you're able to really make your content flexible. Now, we could now show and hide each combination that we need and change the corresponding variable values to reflect that. And we can do that manually. It would only take a few minutes and really wouldn't be that bad, and publish them one at a time. But instead, what SmartDocs offers is what we call document snapshots. Document snapshots allow you to save the end states of all of your different document variations. And you can restore them on screen, and then you can publish as many of them as you need. Let's just take a look at what they look like behind the scenes. So I'm going to open up the snapshots window. Here's that same list you just saw. I'm going to just select one out of the list and go into our edit mode. So really quickly, you're naming your snapshot, of course. Let's just jump down to here for a second. What you're basically doing is defining what are the variables rules, what are the conditional tags rules for this specific output. So we have our automatic 1000 imperial. That means from a variables perspective, these are the variable values that we want to make sure are part of that particular snapshot. Now, in reality, I only needed to define this one. It's the only one that's unique in this particular document. But maybe when I was first doing it, that's why I chose them all. I wasn't sure if they were going to all be the same. But in this case, we're only doing a user guide out of here. Maybe we had a quick graph version too. But right now we only have user guide. But I wanted to show you that you can have as many variables as you need that are specific to that particular document output. Then you'll define which tags should be set to show in this particular document output. In the publish settings, when you go to publish the document, you can have SmartDocs change the paper size. Maybe you have an 8.5 by 11 version, but you also have an A4 version going to Europe. So that can be one of your choices as you're setting up a snapshot. You can designate a folder to save it to. If you have an internal macro that you need to run upon the document being published, just simply type the name of it here. SmartDocs will engage it and run it for you when this document is being published. You also can use bookmarks to delete content during publishing. This is a new feature for those of you who are familiar with snapshots. So inherently, Word doesn't allow you to choose a table column, for example, and conditionalize it. It's not the way that columns are recognized. You can't just delete a column. So you can though, with use of this bookmark. So rather than apply a conditional tag to it, which Word won't recognize and SmartDocs won't allow it to happen, you can now have it so that you can bookmark that column and make sure that that gets deleted when you don't want it in there during the final version of your document. Or you can delete whole sections. Maybe you don't want to conditionalize an entire huge section of your document. It's easier visually for you to just bookmark it and have it be deleted. So it allows you a lot of flexibility. Okay, so let's take a look at what these snapshots even mean. So right now we have these conditional tags are showing. We have no variable values that are specific to anything. So let's change that. So let's go ahead and show the automatic metric version of our document output. You will see that SmartDocs now has updated all of our variable values as well as which conditional tags are showing. So it's that easy to toggle between these and update everything that is associated with those different end state variations of your document. Now I could publish them individually if I wanted to, or I can publish document snapshots as a group. I could publish them all. I can publish both to Word and PDF at the same time. Once I click publish, if I have document snapshots, I can publish the document in its current state if I just need this one. Or I can go ahead and choose document snapshots and choose as many of these as I want to. The show all is where we started. No specific variable values, all conditional tags showing. I don't ever publish that one, but I like to restore it when I'm editing a document. In this case, I could select all of these and publish them, and we'd have Word and PDF versions, all clean, highlighting removed, content controls removed, everything looking exactly the way that you want. Okay. All right. So quick going back to our slides for a moment. Document automation with Smart Builders. Just a quick overview, and again, if this interests you, we have many videos on our website that feature Smart Builders, and this is something that you can see in action that way. But you associate your Smart Builder with a document template, and it allows your end users to go through a series of screens that you create, as many as you need, as many questions as you need, organized however you want, and you can allow them to answer those questions. You have associated actions with their responses that will allow SmartDocs to automatically build the document for you. We have people using these for sales proposals, RFPs, quick ref guides, even to just begin a document if you're starting a new user guide, if you're starting some new manual, whatever the case may be. They're excellent for initiating a document or creating a final document. You might run a Smart Builder and be 50% of the way there. You might run it and be 100% complete. You can also have multiple Smart Builders embedded throughout your document so that you can, as you come upon them, going section by section, you execute Smart Builder, answer your questions, boom, SmartDocs is using all the building blocks that you've built, snippets, conditional text, variables, whatever it is that you're building in there, and building your document for you. So it's very reliable. It's incredibly easy. It reduces time it takes to create a new document rather than opening old documents, copying and pasting things into your new document, etc. You don't have to do any of those things. SmartDocs is doing all of this for you with all the great content that you've already spent time building. So overall, SmartDocs is easy to implement. It's a very low learning curve. We have an excellent training environment that is purchased by all new customers. It's a training package. It's very affordable. It's very easy. It is mostly video based, and then there are supplements, of course. And you're staying in Word, so it's easy to watch videos, watch the training, and apply it immediately to whatever you're working on. It's just easy to work with. We have different editions of SmartDocs that allow it to be very scalable to your teams. We offer volume discounts, of course, for teams that are 25 users or more. Because everything is centrally located, it allows for very easy collaboration for in-house and remote teams, and you'll see immediate benefits like you saw. Every time I create something that is centrally available, anyone who needs it can use it, who has permission to do so. I encourage you to try a 14-day trial. You'll be able to have a full version of SmartDocs. We host it for you. You don't have to worry about SharePoint during a trial. And you just install, activate, and get started. We have, of course, pre-recorded demos. We have webinars going on. So tell us what you're trying to solve. And we'd love to hear what are some of the things, some of the features you saw today that you're particularly interested in, that you feel are really going to work well and improve things for your team. And we'll be happy to give you a quote. Quoting is easy. Licensing and training, that is it. Support is included. Full product maintenance, any updates that happen while you are a SmartDocs customer, you automatically have access to. So it's easy to work with, it's easy to get started, and hopefully you will take advantage of that. Please feel free to contact us or contact me directly if you like. There's tons of information on our website, lots of videos, and we'll be updating. A lot of them are updated to the new version, but we'll be updating as we go along once the product is fully released, so you'll see a lot of updates coming up. So thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to speaking with all of you, and if you have questions, definitely get in touch, and good luck. Thank you so much.